are now in tune to the Storyteller with Connie Oswald.
Good evening. Tonight's story is one of Aesop's fables called How to Please No One at All. A farmer and his son were driving their donkey to market to sell him. They had not gone far when they met a troop of giggling, chattering girls. "Look there!" cried one of them. "Aren't they fools to be trudging along on foot when they might be riding?" The farmer, when he heard this, told his son to get up on the donkey, and the old man walked happily along his side. Soon they came to a group of old men talking gravely by the side of the road. "There," said one of them, "that proves what I was just saying. No respect to show old age these days. Just see that idle young fellow riding along while his poor father has to walk." "Get off that donkey, lazy boy," shouted another, "and let your father get on." The son promptly got down from the donkey, and the farmer took his place. They had not gone far when they met a company of women and children. "Why, you lazy old fellow," cried several of the mothers at once. "How can you ride upon the beast when that poor tired lad can hardly keep up with you? What mean fathers one sees nowadays." So the good-natured farmer put his son up behind him on the donkey's back, and they continued on their way. Soon they reached the edge of the town, and one of the villagers came out of his house to stare at the travelers. "Pray, my friend," he said, "is that donkey yours?" "Yes," replied the farmer. "I would never have thought so," said the villager, "to see the way you load him down. You should be ashamed. The two of you are better able to carry the poor beast than he is to carry you." "Anything to please you," said the farmer, and he and his son got down from the donkey. What were they to do now? The farmer thought for a long time, and at last an idea came to him. Cutting a thick branch from a nearby tree, he trimmed it into a stout pole. Then, with some difficulty, he and his son tied the donkey's feet to the pole and lifted both the pole and the donkey to their shoulders. In this fashion they passed on to the bridge that led into town. But by the time they had gotten halfway across the bridge, a whole crowd of people had collected to see the sight. They were all hooting and shouting and laughing at the funny-looking spectacle. The donkey, frightened by the racket and uncomfortable in his upside-down position, took it into his head to kick at the cords. In no time at all he pulled loose from the pole and tumbled off the bridge into the water, and since he was unable to swim, he soon drowned. At this the farmer and his son hung their heads in shame and started home again. They had learned their lesson. By trying to please everyone, they had pleased no one, and had lost their donkey in the bargain.
You have just heard The Storyteller with Connie Oswald. The Storyteller will return next week, Wednesday, May 28th at 5:20 p.m. This program was pre-recorded. Another girl involved in WSMH Radio was Peggy Maka, who was an alias The Mystic. Heard at 5:20 p.m. every Friday. You are now in tune to The Mystic, a show of stars and horoscopes, a special on WSMH.
Good evening and welcome to The Mystic. Today I will be telling you your horoscopes for the week of May 9th through the 15th. We'll begin with Aries. The 7-day period begins on a serious note, and you might have to apply extra pressure to accomplish your objectives. The influence of Uranus may be felt on the 9th, possibly to bring you a new companion or introduce a favor to stimulate your originality. Venus's change of sign on the 9th points to your enjoyment of hospitality extended by others during the next few weeks. Cuisine standards may be stepped up, but don't fail to check up on your calorie intake. The new moon of the 11th should create a very interesting weekend. In all probability, you will develop an area of something of a practical nature that you want to make or acquire. Financial matters can be worked out nicely under this lunation, which favors real estate deals and the purchase of items which are likely to increase in value as time passes. On the 14th, you can swing a deal to your advantage following a tasty lunch. Taurus, this week includes the new moon in your sign, so you can look for changes of a more or less important nature, especially if your birthday is around the 10th or the 11th. Be as progressive as you can now, willing to move with the stellar tide is in your favor. You are especially creative and inventive on the 9th. Follow up ideas and contacts occurring that day. Indications are that very shortly you will find something especially attractive in connection with your neighborhood or with environmental matters. Keep in touch with those of your immediate vicinity, particularly new faces. They may go out of their way to please. Information relative to finances or perhaps a study that could indirectly benefit your earning capacity may be brought to your attention on the 12th. Don't pass this up. The 14th is a visiting day. You can bring almost anyone to agreement with an appetizing repast. This concludes the Mystic. Have a nice week.
You have just heard The Mystic, a show of stars and horoscopes. The Mystic returns again next week, Friday, May 16th at 5:20 p.m. to give the horoscope predictions for the week of May 16th through May 22nd. This program was pre-recorded. On the second and fourth Monday of each month, a WSMH remote crew would go to the Lancaster Village Board meeting to tape the proceedings. The taped show would then be aired on the following Wednesday of that week.
We will open first with a prayer. Let us pray to the Lord our Father for guidance and unity in our deliberations in behalf of the people of this community. Amen. And now we will have the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America led by Trustee Franger.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First, I'd like to welcome again the St. Mary's High School broadcast of our board meeting, and the young man this evening, Gary Yerge. Gary. Roll call.
Trustee Scheifele.
Here.
Fisher. Here. Lyon.
Here.
Zappa. Here. Suzuki.
Here.
Ranger.
Here.
Before we proceed further, I think that in the interest of the people, everybody concerned, that I should make a statement as to my position and what's been going on the board. So my friends and fellow citizens, during the April 7th organizational meeting of the Village of Lancaster Board of Trustees, a dispute arose regarding the appointments of village attorney and plumbing inspector. In short, as the 1975-76 official year began, the trustees desired the appointment of two individuals as village attorney and plumbing inspector, while I refused to make such appointments. Although this dispute has received much publicity, I fear it is the subject of gross misunderstanding. For this reason, I feel I have an obligation to myself and to the people of this village to state clearly my position. In refusing to appoint these individuals, I am in no way commenting on their abilities. My position can be summarized with 2 points. First, on November 25, 1974, the trustees passed a resolution changing the status of village attorney and plumbing inspector from that of village employees to that of village officials. The significance of this resolution is that while the services of village employee may be terminated at any time, State law sets the term of village officials as 1 official year. Removal of a village official before the end of his term involves intricate and difficult legalities. In the light of strict requirements that must be met to remove a village official, I feel the appointment of village attorney and plumbing inspector would involve significant commitments on the part of the village which would not be to its best interest. Secondly, relative to the needs of the village to retain these individuals, the cost is extremely excessive. Since 1965-66 fiscal year, the salary of the plumbing inspector has increased 85%. And in the past 7 years, the salary of the village attorney has increased 81%. So that filling these offices would involve an expenditure in the 1975-76 official year of $13,087 village funds, $3,323 to the plumbing inspector and $9,764 to the village attorney. In return for these substantial funds, the following services are performed for the people. The chief duty of the plumbing inspector is to inspect plumbing work in the village. These duties could easily be assumed by the village building inspector. As to the village attorney, there are few instances where in the need for immediate legal counsel is essential. In most legal actions involving the village, legal representation is supplied to the village by its insurance carriers. Despite this minimal need for a village attorney, what I find even more distressing with regard to retention of this counsel is that when substantial legal matters do periodically arise, additional expenditures for legal assistance may be necessary. For example, in a recent action by the Chickawaga Trenching Company against the village attorney demanded from the village an additional $2,100 for services rendered by the village attorney above and beyond the scope of his retainer with the village of Lancaster in regard to preparation, research, and litigation. Note, the 6 trustees voted to allow payment of this extra sum, but since the services performed were not authorized by the board beforehand as required by state statute, I have ordered the village clerk treasurer not to disperse this amount. If the trustees question the authority of my action, I shall bring this matter to the attention of the state comptroller. It is my suggestion that since additional expenditures may be necessary when substantial legal matters do arise, counsel should be retained only when those matters present themselves. To be prepared for those legal difficulties as they arise, I have solicited the names of attorneys who would be willing to provide legal service on such a basis. I do not feel that I am acting unreasonably or stubbornly in this matter. Although the trustees are unanimously opposed to my position, it is important to distinguish the responsibilities and the office of mayor from those of trustees. As in the federal and state governments, the village government is divided into the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. The executive branch is represented at the village level by the mayor. As part of its design to preserve and control the powers within village government, the state legislature in Village Law, Section 401, declared it is to be the responsibility of the village mayor to appoint all department heads and non-elected officers subject to the approval of the Board of Trustees. The purpose of this law is to hold non-elected officials directly responsible to the mayor. If I appointed these individuals merely because such was the unanimous desire of the trustees, I would be in effect abandoning the duties and authority of the mayor. As a result, the village would be deprived of the protection inherent in the separation of powers. Thus, I must stand by my own judgment. Of course, I shall attempt to dismiss this controversy if at all possible. I hope to schedule special meetings of the board to discuss and eliminate misunderstandings and resentments that may have developed. As much as I appreciate the authority and function of the mayor, I also value the cooperation and amicable relations among the Board of Trustees.